Hi, everybody. Welcome back from a little bit of a hiatus. It was good to take a little bit of time off and kind of regroup and get ready for season number 3, all about creativity. So here's what's happening on the farm. It's early. No, it's not. I was going to say it's early October, but really it's late September. Not quite October yet, but the temperatures are feeling so great. It is really cool at night, down into the high 40s, and the days have just been gorgeous. We went to our first in person fiber festival this weekend, and yeah, the weather was gorgeous. Everybody was excited to come out. Everyone was wearing their masks. It felt really pretty safe. So for that, I'm really grateful. And if you came out this last weekend to the Shenandoah show, thank you so much for coming and visiting. I saw some great projects that people were working on. We talked about new projects that people wanted to make. And so it was all in all a great time. And right now, we do have some bucks here that are visiting, and it's getting ready to be breeding season. So they are quite fragrant, but that's okay. They're not too close to the house, and the wind is going the other way. So it's a little bit of our revenge for the people that live that have built McMansions in back of us that are right up on the property line. It's like you get to smell those bucks. Hope you're happy living in the country. So that's kind of funny. That's kind of where we are. So let's get to it. So again, this season is going to be all about creativity. And I'm really excited about it because it's something that I've been dealing with a lot since a very young age. And I feel like I'm just growing into growing fully into my creativity. And so I wanted to share that with people because I think sometimes we get a little bit down on ourselves. So here, let's go. What is creativity? Because I think this is a place where we have some myths and some misunderstandings. And really, creativity is creation. It's the act of creation. So it's using your imagination or your original ideas to make something unique, something new that hasn't been done before, or to do something in a completely new way. It doesn't say anything about being an artist, does it? It doesn't say anything about being able to draw or paint. It says using your imagination or your original ideas to make something unique. I have to apologize for my voice. All of a sudden, I sound a little bit frog-like. So here's what I believe. I believe that creativity is inside of everyone. There is a drive in us to create. I believe that each of us has something creative to contribute to the world in whatever way. It could be something that is in your work. It could be something that is a hobby. It could be something that there's the way that you look at things. Everyone has something creative to contribute to the world. I totally believe that when you tap into your creativity, it will enhance your life. I know this from personal experience. The more I am able to tap into my creativity, the more I feel like my life is bigger and better. And I believe we're all works in progress. So for me, that means that, you can grow your creativity. So why am I talking about this right now? And again, I have been researching creativity for myself. And a lot of the books that I've been reading talks about, how everybody has the ability to create. Everybody has the urge to create, and everyone has a need to create. And I think that this is particularly true right now when we're in this weird kind of pandemic flux. And, I think we need to take a step and look and see where we're at, and have something positive to focus on. I know a lot of people use creativity to bring the workplace into their home. A lot of people use their creativity to figure out how to teach their children and work at the same time. So it's something that I think could be built upon where we're sitting right now in 2021. I hear this all the time. Other people are creative, not me. Like, you're so creative. I could never be creative. I'm just not an artist. I hear that a lot. And it was something that I thought for a very, very long time as well. One of the books that I was reading was talking about when societies are or were, in the past, invested in making as a way of life. So you had to make your teepee or your living shelter. You needed to make your clothes. You needed to make the bowls that you would eat out of. You needed to make the utensils that you were going to eat out of. When the society is invested in making things, making as a way of life, then everyone of the group, every single person in the group is seen as creative. They may be creative in different ways. Maybe the person who's making the bowls is not the person that's making the utensils, or the person that's making the clothing is not the person who's making the shelter. But everybody has that creativity within them, and the society values that and sees that is the way of life. Now, in the first world countries, we've basically stopped making. We go buying, we don't go making. Someone else makes our house, thankfully. I don't think I could do that. Somebody else makes the bowls, somebody else makes the clothing. We go out and purchase those things. And so because we are not physically involved in making as much anymore, or maybe making nothing anymore, we stop seeing ourselves as creative individuals. And that's something that other people do. That's not something that I do. And that's where it becomes like this, something that used to be a skill that everyone had, a trait that everyone had. Now it becomes that other people are doing that. And so then artists kind of become heroes, and to be an artist is more of a mystery. And there's kind of a snobbery around that. That artists are held to, a different statue or a different place, instead of seeing that, well, at one time we were all artists in our own right. We've just given that up. And when there becomes less and less creativity, when the boundaries of what is creative or who can be creative are tightened. So at each level, if we are tightening the boundaries of what is seen as creative, then what is creative becomes smaller and smaller and shrinks. And the people that can be creative become smaller and smaller groups of people. And that is just, we're not valuing ourselves. We're not valuing what is part of our human condition and part of our traits as human beings. We love to make, and we love to make with our minds and with our hands. So here's some myths about creativity. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see there's Checkers. She's sitting in a knitting machine, and she looks very creative in that in that little photo. It makes me laugh. So here's some myths. Again, only people who can draw, or only people who can paint, or only people who can throw a pot on a wheel are called artists. And again, I think that is incorrect. I do think that our society is making that a declaration, but I think that that's a false narrative. And therefore, only artists can be creative. And again, that's been disproved over and over again. We are all have some innate creativity within us. Another myth is you were born with a talent, like that. The talent is not something that you learn. Being creative or being an artist is not something you learn. It's something that you're born with. And again, that puts it, the creativity and art, being an artist, puts that in the realm of like heroes or mystery, or only certain people have that. Because I wasn't born with a talent, so that means that I cannot be creative and I cannot have artistry. And then there's the whole, the whole argument is craft and art. Is art better than craft? Is, we certainly know that, visual arts, painting, photography, painting, drawing, sculpture making, things like that are seen as better than craft. But is it truly better than craft? I would submit that it is not. I think that's a myth, because you can have true artistry whether you're making a pair of beautiful socks or making a picture of some beautiful flowers in a garden. You're calling on the same creative spirit within you. And so what does creativity do for us? Well, I think for me, it does so much. And here's my story about it. I was really close to creativity until my 20s, because I was brought up that that I was not an artist. My parents told me time and time again that I couldn't draw. I would never draw. So if I couldn't draw, then I wouldn't be an artist. And even though I was expressing myself through some pretty deep poetry in high school that I still have, and I still think, wow, who was that person that wrote those poems? But I was still pretty closed off, because I didn't see even writing or poetry making as creativity at that time. But then in my 20s, I found a way to express myself through photography. A friend and I took a photography class, and the instructor gave us so many interesting assignments, and I just, my creativity just started to bloom and blossom all the way, because I saw myself as, wow, I saw myself as an artist, because I could still express myself visually, but I didn't have to draw and I didn't have to paint, but I could get the same feelings and express the same feelings through the art of photography. And it has grown since then, through quilting and dyeing and weaving, and being able to express the ideas that I have, or express the joy in the colors and things like that. It has really grown within me. And I know that when I am in the creative zone, it is all joy and lightness around me. You get into the flow that people talk about. The lightness gives me kind of a euphoric feeling that I want to continue. And I also think that the more creative acts that I complete, the more creative acts I try. So creativity begets more creativity. And I also know that the art of making, the act of making, connects us to our world and to people and to our community. For sure, that's pretty evident in what I do, because my acts of making, my acts of creativity are going to other people's homes where they are using it in various ways with their creativity. So it is connecting, my making is connecting myself to the people that are using my yarn and roving and, hand-dyed fabrics and things like that. So I do believe that you can grow your creativity. It's not innate. It's not inborn. It is learned. It is something that you need to practice, and making it a daily practice is something that I think enhances, at least it enhances my life, and I think that it will enhance everybody's life, to just take small steps and to do more noticing about when you are being creative. So a daily practice to do it, taking small steps. If you're going on a walk, you can take photographs. You can collect items, then maybe you make them into like a little assemblage or a collage of feathers and interesting leaf shapes and beautiful fall colors and those kind of things. And as you are looking and noticing your world and thinking about the act of creation, it is, again, going to bring you that euphoric feeling that I was talking about. And I do think it is important to keep a journal. I haven't been doing this, but I fully intend to do this along with you, if you're willing to take this ride with me this season on creativity. It's your journal. You can have whatever kind of journal that you want. It doesn't have, if you don't like to write, you can make lists, or you can put in photos, or like I said, you can put in your collected feathers or leaves. It can be something that is paper, or it could be something that is digital even. It doesn't even have to be something that is actually a physical place. It could be living on your hard drive. So in each episode in this season, I'm going to give you some short exercises to work on in order for you to grow your creative self and to become aware of your creative self that's already inside of you, like we've been talking about. And I think, like I was just saying, I think it's important to document your journey through photos or words or collages or poems or lists, or whatever way that makes you happy. And it can be an actual book, or it can be digital. It's something that should be easy for you, and it should be something, my vision of this is to then look back and see the progress and see the growth, and to be able to have something to celebrate in the future, and have this be part of a daily practice that brings you closer to enhancing your true inner identity as a creative force in your life. So here's your first creative exercise, and I'm calling it Ways to Art. And this was suggested to me by a mentor, that to write out all the different ways that you art. And yes, use it as a verb. And if you've noticed, a lot of vocabulary that uses art that is, really in places that you wouldn't expect artists to be. For instance, the healing arts, or the medical arts, culinary arts, the decorative arts, the visual arts, the literary arts, the textile arts. But think about ways that you use your imagination, or your innovation, or your inventiveness throughout the day. And you'd be surprised at all the ways you're creative each and every day. You can write them, draw them, photograph them, somehow document them, the ways in which you art. I know, creative problem solving. What are some of the ways that you creatively solve things that are happening in your life? Maybe it's the way that you make lunches for people, or the way maybe you artistically iron because you love to iron. Not that anybody should actually iron, but there are people that do like to iron. But maybe you are creatively ironing, cloth napkins beautifully in a new and different way. Really stretch your mind out and think about all the ways that you are using your imagination, or some innovation, or some inventiveness throughout your day. And don't just think about, your home lifetime, but also think about ways in which you art in your job or in your career. And keep adding to the list. So, if you get to the bottom of a page, leave the next page blank, and so that you can keep adding as new ideas pop up or new things pop up where you say, wow, I really creatively managed that carpool situation today. So, the art of the carpool, or, there's so many different things that we do that we don't acknowledge that are creative. And I believe that when we start acknowledging and noticing these things that are coming from ourselves, we can start to fully embrace who we are and what we're about. So until next time, I'd love to hear about your creative arting exercise. You can always leave a comment on the podcast. You can leave a comment on the YouTube. Now you can even leave a voicemail on the Anchor website, which is where my podcast lives. Of course, you can listen to this podcast on iTunes or Spotify or any of the other services where you pick up your podcasts. And I'd love to hear what you're doing. I'd love to see your list. And I hope that this starts to open up your mind to totally realizing that you are a creative human being. So until I see you in person or virtually or here on the podcast again, happy making.